In the past, VR headsets and mixed reality glasses had a clear distinction between them. One was enormous and clunky and completely immersive, while the other was more like a pair of glasses with a really small field of view and a bit of a rubbish display. The Apple Vision Pro and Meta Quest 3 made the distinction much less clear, offering full immersion as well as superb pass-through vision of your surroundings. But Goovis thinks there's still room for a different category entirely, that of personal cinema displays, which until now have been more or less the same form factor as a VR headset, but offering much higher pixel densities, better suited to movie viewing and general media consumption. The new Goovis Art offers the same great pixel-dense OLED displays, but in a tiny form factor that doesn't completely obscure your vision. Instead, it's so small that you can still see your smartphone. You can avoid stepping on things in the street. You can see your drone controller or your keyboard. It's an interesting concept that bridges the gap between mixed reality glasses and full-on immersive XR headsets like the Apple Vision Pro or Meta Quest 3. So let's take a closer look at the Goovis Art. I'm James Bruce, you're watching MacObserver.com reviews. The headset itself arrives in one piece. There's a USB-C cable and that's about it, because that's all you need. There's no case, but the headset does have rubber eye covers to avoid damage there. It's so tiny that I don't think finding a suitable case would be a problem, though. It doesn't need a specific shape. Pretty much anything rectangular will do. You probably already have something that fits it. It also doesn't feel particularly delicate, which I was kind of thinking it might. There's no obvious weak points, and it's really well constructed. Interestingly, the USB-C in and the 3.5mm audio out ports are on the headband, not the headset, so that keeps the clutter out of the way. You can route any cables behind you, though I still found it could get a bit annoying. There's a few buttons and dials on the headset itself for volume, diopter adjustments, and 3D mode. Yes, it fully supports side-by-side 3D movie display. But there's no power button because the headset itself doesn't have a battery. It's just a display device, more on that later. But let's talk about the really important part, and that's the display. So inside this tiny headset are dual OLED displays offering 1920 by 1080p full HD, and the sheer size of them means that that's technically 4,496 dots per inch. That's a lot of dots, or 42 pixels per degree, or PPD. And it's that last spec which is the one that really matters. So for comparison's sake, the Apple Vision Pro has a PPD of 34, while the Meta Quest 3 is around 25 PPD. And that's the real measure of the sharpness of the display, or how many pixels you're fitting into every visible degree. But it also needs to be weighed against the field of view, because obviously an HD screen that only covered 10 degrees of your field of view would be terrible. So in terms of field of view, or how big your virtual screen is, officially it's stated as like watching a 110-degree TV at 4 meters, which is a 40-degree field of view. Now, this is actually the recommended field of view from THX, the movie experts. It means that you can see the full display without having to move your head around or scan your vision. As another comparison, if I bring my iPhone Max to my face to estimate the size, it's about the same as being this far away. And the great thing is that there's very little dead space around it. If I had to visualize it, it's like a blurry black rectangle and a little wider on the side. So it's a good sized screen, but crucially, you can still maintain your peripheral vision. You can look around or look down. So I actually typed most of this review on my phone while using the Goovis Art. You're also not confined to having it just in the center of your vision either. You can angle the whole thing up or down a bit if you want. So your eyes just need to, say, glance down to see the screen, and you can still make eye contact or focus your standard vision elsewhere, or you can just have it right in the middle of your vision but still maintain everything around it. I actually found myself tending towards the eyes down mode most of the time. Your eyes are more relaxed when they're looking down, I think. So even though the overall resolution is only HD on the Goovis Art, it's compressed into a much smaller area than, say, the Vision Pro, which means that your HD movies are going to look sharper. So on the Vision Pro, yes, you can create a virtual cinema screen that's massive, a huge virtual IMAX as big as you need to turn your head to look around at all of it. But the content you put on it, if it's HD or even 4K, is going to look very pixelated. The Goovis Art is a lot more like having a brilliantly good big screen TV anywhere you go. Covering 110% of the sRGB color space, I also found the image just looks stunning. And compared to a mixed reality screen, which of course has to overlay things on your vision, your normal vision, the enclosed nature of these means that you don't get natural light mixing into the display. And combined with that OLED screen, it means the blacks are truly black and the color range is outstanding. To my surprise, the image looks nearly as good in full-on sunshine as it does at night. And you do have a brightness control on here, of course, to help mitigate that problem, but turning up the brightness means the blacks are less impressive, but still outstanding overall. And I'm really blown away by how something as open designed as this could be so usable on a sunny day. That's really not something I was expecting. Normally you would need to just enclose your vision, block out all the light in order to get a display of that quality. Now, one thing to keep in mind with any headset is never ever expose the lenses themselves to bright light directly. Do use these lens covers. Facing them up like this without a cover on even for a second or two will completely destroy the screens. If you think about when you were a kid, you might have played with a magnifying glass and figured out that you could use it at the right length from the ground to start a fire. Yeah, that'll do the same job in here. Also, I found that sometimes the bright light could mess with the presence sensor that says whether you're wearing them or not, with the result that the screen can appear to be turning on and off at random. If you do find that, covering up the sensor with a tiny bit of tape will solve that, at least until there's a firmware update, perhaps to reduce the sensitivity. Now, one of the side effects of having such a small lens is that there's a very small sweet spot, so it can take 5-10 seconds to adjust and get everything clearly within view. So let's talk about comfort and adjustments. Weighing in at a mere 100 grams or 3.5 ounces, you just aren't going to worry about any weight on your head. You barely notice it. And while the strap part does sort of feel a bit flimsy, in practice it doesn't matter because it's so little weight. Now, that's in stark contrast to the Vision Pro or the Quest 3, both of which are very much front heavy and ideally need better straps and added weight at the back just to not cause neck issues. The forehead padding part here can be removed entirely, and the padding is attached by Velcro, so it's easy to take off and replace or give it a wipe. As for adjustments, the Goovis Art features extensive and easy to operate IPD adjustments, so that's interpupillary distance, so the space between your eyes, adjustment of which is essential to get the most out of any headset. To adjust that, you should close one eye and then ensure this toggle on the top is unlocked, and then you move the eyepiece left and right. Check one eye is clear, and then the other. If you do find one eye is sort of perfect edge to edge, but the other is not, it can be because it's not centered on your head. So shift it left or right and then try again. Eventually, both of your eyes should be completely clear for the whole image, side to side with no blurriness at all. And at that point, you're set. It also has diopter adjustments on the side, which just changes the lens, and they can adjust to pretty extreme short-sighted eyesight problems. So you don't actually need to use glasses with this. I'm short-sighted, I can adjust it to suit my vision easily. But of course, if you do that and you normally need glasses, as I do, then the whole point of still being able to interact with the world around you is kind of mooted. Since it doesn't interfere with my glasses at all, I can't say it's a feature I've been taking advantage of. The one thing the Goovis Art does lack is a way to adjust the distance from your face, which most VR headsets tend to offer in some form to accommodate glasses. Generally, the closer to your eyes you can get it, the larger your virtual screen is going to be and the field of view. But in this case, it's fixed, so you can only bend it up or down. That said, it never bumped up against my glasses, but at the same time, if I do remove them, I can't move the screens closer, so there's no point. I might as well just keep my glasses on. Audio quality is about what you'd expect, quite tinny, lacking in bass, and other people will be able to hear you, of course, if you turn it up really loud or if they're sitting close by. However, it does have a 3.5mm audio output jack, though I've heard some complaints that it doesn't fit all headphones because the port is kind of inset here. You can probably get a short 90-degree angle jack or slimmer short extension lead if that is an issue. Not something I've had a problem with though. Since it doesn't have any computing embedded within it, any Bluetooth you use is going to have to come from what you have plugged into it, like a Steam Deck or your Mac. Technically, there is no battery life in here. It relies entirely on external power, so you have a few options here. Firstly, if you're using something like a Mac Mini, a MacBook, or a Steam Deck, you can draw power from that directly over USB-C without needing anything else. It's just that one USB-C cable and you're sorted. If you do need external power, then this optional USB-C 8000 mAh battery bank is an option. So this is just a large battery bank with a USB-C power injector on it. So your source goes into this, you plug into the other port, and then the signal gets power added to it from this. Simple. This is modular though, and you can remove the USB power injector part and swap it over for the Media player, which is a self-contained media player. It clips onto the power bank base. Annoyingly, it only has HDMI out. That's apparently an Android TV restriction, but it does mean in order to use it, you'll need to use this HDMI to USB-C adapter. However, that's the only adapter you needed. There's no other power injection because the battery itself sends power through the HDMI port too. So there's not a lot to say about the media player. It handled every format that I threw at it, including HEVC 4K HDR movies. Did fine playing those natively. It also has a micro SD slot in there for you to load things up onto. I had Plex and VLC installed. Of course, it's only HD quality movies that you're going to get into the headset itself. However, it can play back 4K and then that goes to HD in here. So in terms of battery life from this media player and, well, this USB-C power bank, you'll have at least enough for any generic fantasy epic movie about a ring or a giant worm or a giant ringworm, whatever. So should you buy the Goovis Art? Can it compete with the Apple Vision Pro? Okay, it's not actually mixed reality, but as a discrete lightweight headset that you can just fold up or down as needed and still interact with the outside world when you're using it, it's really rather good. Even in daylight, the screens are quite visible and look fantastic. As a productivity tool, if you need a private screen to work with on your MacBook or Mac Mini, it's great. You can still easily see the real-world keyboard and trackpad and not face any sudden surprises because you've blocked out your peripheral vision. If you've found that other headsets tend to take you out of your environment and you don't like that, perhaps you want to be somewhat sociable and able to interact or use your phone or whatever the reason, this does the job. It gives you a reasonable size virtual screen without taking away everything else. And I am really surprised at how good it is, considering how absolutely tiny those screens are, especially in daylight as well. Now, it's a bit unfair to draw comparisons to the Apple Vision Pro, apples to oranges and all that. Obviously, this isn't overlaying screens onto a mixed reality environment, nor does it offer the same sort of immersive experience to shut everything out or a 110-degree field of view. But it is 1/6 the cost of the Vision Pro, of course, and it's a hell of a lot more comfortable and less liable to shatter when dropped. On the other hand, don't buy the Goovis Art if you want that sort of immersive gaming. You get a brilliant 2D screen to play with your Steam Deck or otherwise, but you're not going to be playing virtual reality games. But you could buy this as a discrete screen for working outdoors with, and then you could get a Quest 3 for immersive gaming experiences and still have $2 or $3 grand left in your pocket compared to a Vision Pro. Thanks for watching MacObserver.com reviews. I'm James Bruce. This is the Goovis Art, and I would highly recommend it, and I'll see you in the next one.